So this is the first video lesson for the 20th, which you may not watch this until the 21st since it's the Eid holiday. But if you do it early, that's okay. I will make this lesson due by 4 o'clock on Wednesday, and then the assignment will be due by midnight on Wednesday, because on Wednesday you'll have your normal video lessons besides. So you'll have to do a lot of work to kind of make up for the day that got lost with the holiday. So our learning target, I can identify quadrilaterals and their properties. Now, because I was hoping to meet in person and give you a lot more information than I'm going to be able to give you on this video lesson, I couldn't find an assignment that was very challenging for you that I could give you enough notes for. So you want to copy this down, and the assignment will be an IXL assignment that I'm going to expect you to get 100% on, because I can only do basic stuff with it. You'll see on the next video lesson there's a little more detail. So we're looking at quadrilaterals. If you remember, they are polygons with 4 sides. So we're going to define all of these, and then I'm going to show you what kind of questions you'll have. So let's start with the quadrilateral. Quadrilateral just is a polygon with 4 sides. Okay, and there's 2 kinds of quadrilaterals. There's this type over here, which we call concave. It kind of looks like it makes a cave in there, and then these are considered convex. So the difference is there's like an indent in the concave one. So the properties and stuff that we're going to be looking at today and talking about later today won't be talking about concave. We'll mostly be talking about convex polygons. So a kite is a polygon. That means it's a 4-sided figure. Now, by definition, a kite has 2 pairs of sides that are next to each other that are equal in length. So I have these marked that way. It can be turned sideways. It can be turned any way you want, but there are 2 different pairs of sides that are congruent. It's a kite. For the other ones under here, parallelogram. So a parallelogram is a quadrilateral, so it has 4 sides, and it has 2 pair of opposite sides that are parallel. Remember, we mark parallel sides with arrows or triangles. So these 2 opposite sides are parallel, and these 2 opposite sides are parallel. It is not the same thing as putting a congruent symbol down. Like if I'm saying these sides are congruent, they're straight markings, which is one of the properties we're going to look at later about parallelograms. Okay, and we're going to use coordinate geometry to determine what kind of shapes we have. So the next one was a rectangle. So a rectangle, by definition, is a quadrilateral that has 4 right angles. So 4 equal angles, all the angles equal each other. A rhombus is a quadrilateral where all the sides are equal to each other, not necessarily the angles, but the side lengths. And so a square kind of takes both of these. It's kind of like these 2 got married and had a baby, and the baby got all the characteristics because it has 4 right angles, 4 congruent angles, and it has 4 sides that are equal to each other. So that's a square. Okay, and we have a trapezoid. So a trapezoid is a quadrilateral, so it has 4 sides, where 1 pair of the sides are parallel to each other. So instead of drawing the little arrows, I drew the triangles on there. And so they can look very different. Like this one, the 2 parallel sides, if I line it up, then you can tell those 2 sides are parallel to each other on the top and the bottom. And then this one, I mean, they can be flipped any old way. Okay, now there's a special type. Oh wait, we gotta talk about this. There are names that would go along with the trapezoid. We call the sides, the bases are the sides that are parallel to each other. The legs are the sides that are not parallel. So I know when we were talking about Pythagorean theorem, we talked about legs and hypotenuses. So trapezoids also have, they have legs. So the legs are the side that aren't equal. So this thing, even though it's drawn that way, it could be turned any way you want. It's still going to be the bases. The purple ones are still going to be the bases. Okay. So the reason I'm telling you that is our last quadrilateral we want to look at is called the isosceles trapezoid. Remember, isosceles triangles had two sides that were equal to each other, but the third side wasn't necessarily equal. So it's kind of the same idea if these two sides are. So we go in there. These two sides are equal. That's isosceles triangle. With the trapezoid, their legs are equal to each other. Now remember, I just told you what legs were in a trapezoid. They're the parts of the trapezoid that are not the parallel sides. So that's what an isosceles trapezoid could look like. So we know the legs are the same. Okay, let's look at what kind of questions they're going to ask us. There are going to be some yes, no questions. Now, hopefully you've drawn this picture down to help you. And all of these questions are going to ask about the word always. Is something always something? Yes or no? Is something always something? Yes or no? The idea is if you look at where my quadrilateral stems are, one comes down and they're all parallelograms under there. This one goes down and they're all kites. And this one goes down in the trapezoids. Now, always would be if they're asking me about something that's on the bottom, like is a kite a quadrilateral? Yes, it is always a quadrilateral. Always. It has to go kind of up towards the word quadrilateral. Now, the same idea could be true down here. I could say, is a square a rectangle? Is it always a rectangle? Yes, because I'm going upward. But if I was going downward, if this was going down, is a rectangle always a square? No, it's not. Is a parallelogram always going to be a rhombus? No. Is a quadrilateral always going to be a kite? No. It's only always if it goes up. Okay, so with that being said, let's look at some examples. And we're answering yes or no. Yeah, a kite is always a quadrilateral. Oh, I'm going from a kite and I'm going up to quadrilateral, so that one is yes. A quadrilateral is always a trapezoid. No, I could have a quadrilateral that's a parallelogram. It's not always a trapezoid. No. A square is always a rhombus. When I look up, a square is always a rhombus. It goes up. I'm going up the chain, so that one's yes. A trapezoid is always a quadrilateral. Yep, that's going up, right? That's yes. A parallelogram is always a rectangle. No, sometimes a parallelogram is a rhombus. That one's no. That's what some of the questions are like, yes or no. See, they're not super difficult. Then the other ones are going to have you put in the words sometimes, always, or never. So I kind of want to go through that idea here with knowing that we said always goes up all the time. It's sometimes if it goes down on the same branch. Like if it's going down over here, there's nothing that goes down with kite. Quadrilateral, if I'm going down the branch of quadrilateral, it's going to be sometimes. So that's, let me go back, put that back. Okay, so sometimes is going down, always is going up, And then never is when we're going across from branch to branch. If I asked if an isosceles trapezoid is sometimes, always, or never a square because they're on totally different branches, it is never a square. Never. It's going back and forth. Now, the only weird one right here, because they're on the same branch, if I said a rectangle is a rhombus, it is sometimes a rhombus because they're on the same branch. That's the only time I can go sideways. Why won't my red little thing move? Okay, there we go. So let's look at some of these questions. A kite is sometimes, always, or never a trapezoid. What do you think? The answer is never. A parallelogram is sometimes, always, or never a rhombus. It's going down the chain, so it's going to be sometimes. The next one. A square is sometimes, always, never a rectangle. A square is, if I'm going up the chain, it's always. A square is always a rectangle. A quadrilateral is sometimes or always never a parallelogram. If I'm at the top here, sometimes I go down that branch, sometimes I go down this one. I'm going down, so that one's sometimes. Oops, I didn't take the word sometimes, not the arrow. Okay. A rectangle is sometimes, always, never a square. Look at this one, said a square is sometimes, always, never a rectangle. A square is always going to be a rectangle. It's always going to have those 4 right angles in it. But for a rectangle to be a square, that doesn't happen all the time. That's just sometimes. It's going down the chain. It's the next one here. A trapezoid is sometimes, always, never a quadrilateral. A trapezoid, to go up to the quadrilateral, it's going up, so it's always. Then we have, then we have a rectangle is sometimes, always, or never a kite. A rectangle, I can't get over there. It's never going to be a kite. Never going to be able to get over there. Okay, so here's the situation. Because of the Eid holiday, you don't have to have this done. You don't have to have the assignment done till midnight on Wednesday. The video puzzle, the Ed puzzle video has to be done by 4 o'clock. So you can do it now. You do it whenever you want, as long as it's done by midnight. And remember to always check your Google. That's how you probably found out we didn't have class today, but we will on Thursday. Okay, that's it for this video. You have 2 more videos and 2 more assignments you've got to do also. Okay, talk to you later.